What up, y'all? I'm JT, Chef Tickles, the Alaskan Sniper. I'm here with your boy Chris Easy, Deuces -1, Chris Evans.
What up? What up?
We're joined here with our man, Big Daddy, the boy himself, Faraz Sani,
What it do, baby?
DB the Assassin, Sharp Knuckles.
How's it going?
And let's get into it. This is Hoop Session. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Episode 10 here of Hoop Session. Gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk about a lot of things today. Chris is up at the cabin. JT's wearing a Cavs jersey for some reason we were just talking about, but I'm going to talk about the Giannis extension. Big news for Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. The other guys here are going to talk about Harden and when is this guy going to get traded. But ultimately, we're going to be doing preseason overreactions. It's been about 4 days. We've had some preseason games. Pretty much everybody has been playing so far, except for a couple of big names. But starting off with the Giannis extension, he signs a 5-year extension, 228 mil. I'm sure we all heard about that. But that's on top of this coming season, right? So he's pretty much in Milwaukee for 6 more years. And he's making 51.9 million in 2025-26. Can you fucking imagine? Jeez Louise. But obviously that's a lot of relief for Milwaukee fans, and pretty much everywhere else around the league. They're disappointed, right? Raptors, Miami, all those guys that kind of started to clear some cap space, hoping that Giannis would come. But kind of as we expected from somebody like Giannis, who seems pretty loyal, like he said pretty much from the beginning, like he was going to re-sign there. His brother, Thanis, is there as well. So he's ultimately there for the next few years, guaranteed at least, which now opens up hopefully some moves for Milwaukee being a little bit more aggressive, knowing that they can commit to their star being there for a few years. Maybe those pieces that they originally had for Bogdan get moved somewhere else. My ideal situation would be like a Bradley Beal. But he also, now that Giannis is there for the next 4 or 5 years, he has that ability where he can possibly attract some stars. Milwaukee, not a super a free agent destination, but with somebody like Giannis committed for the next few years. DJ Augustine looks really nice there as well. Watching some of their preseason games, he's kind of running the second unit there, and Middleton kind of gets a rest while Giannis and Holiday play. So it looks like a nice unit. Maybe one more piece to kind of guarantee them into the finals. I still truly at heart take Brooklyn over Milwaukee right starting today, but we'll see how it goes. At the very, very least, huge news for Giannis, his whole family. They're obviously set for life, and Bucks fans everywhere. So who wants to jump in first about Giannis?
I can
Man,
go
that's
first.
a big deal. Go ahead, Chris.
Man, the one thing I love that deal for Giannis in the fact that this man stayed in the small market. This man didn't go to the big city. This man didn't go to the Miamis, the LAs, the Torontos, to anything like that. He stayed in Milwaukee for 5 years. I think that's huge. It's a huge win, not only for Milwaukee, but I think it's a huge win for every single small market team that they can grab a superstar, and like a superstar would want to play in a city like that. So I feel like that's a win for Giannis and the Bucks, but I think that's also a win for every other small market team to show they can compete with the big markets,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, the tough thing with Milwaukee is at the end of the day, it's still Milwaukee. I feel like you were saying, it's not really a hot free agent destination. And as much as I love Giannis, and I mean, they said this was the biggest NBA contract ever given out, apparently. As much as I love him, he's still not that. To me, he's still not that championship caliber player. He can win MVP after MVP, but in my opinion, until he develops a shot, and he can kind of do a little bit more on the court, he won't be taking that next step. And that's going to factor in with which players would even want to join up with him, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point, man. I've seen a little bit of a jump shot. Obviously, preseason is preseason, but that's what this episode is about overreacting. So Giannis hit 2 threes last game. We're looking good. He's going to hit 2 threes for the rest of the season. DB, anything on Giannis's extension?
Yeah, I
I feel really good for the Bucks being able to sign him. I think that's amazing for them. I think like they should never have a once in a lifetime kind of player like him. Like it just shouldn't happen in a small market like that. So that's amazing for them. But I think the best part for them is that they got to lock him down, and at the very least, now they have an asset to trade. Even if one day Giannis comes to them and says, "Hey, I tried my best here. I gave it my all here, but it's time for me to go win a championship in LA or any big market," right? They'll give them that, courtesy as well. They'll trade him and actually get a lot of pieces back for him this way, right? So the Bucks won, and Giannis at any point, it's a star-driven league, right? At any point, he could demand a trade and go anywhere he wants.
100%. And even if he lives out this contract with them through 2026, he's 31 years old entering free agency. So it's prime Giannis again. So he's already got his bag of over 200, $250 million. And then he can, like you said, go to an LA and maybe team up with Bronny Jr. or something. Who knows?
Yeah. But to Faraz's point, Justin, if he's 31, he's not going to be that big of an asset if he only has his athleticism at that point, right? So he has to develop that jump shot. Exactly. He has to be able to shoot. Otherwise, it's just this one contract, right?
Yeah, great point. At that point, then he would have to go somewhere else as like a second/third option kind of thing, right? Yeah. So jumping over next to Harden, he still hasn't been traded. He's now played one preseason game, and he's practicing with John Wall. He's kind of showing up, but we're 1 week away from the season, and that's when he joins camp with PJ Tucker there. So for us, get us started off with Harden, and when do you think he's going to get moved? Where is he going? What's going on?
I gotta say, Harden's looking a little thick, man. He looked like he really enjoyed that offseason, man.
Sure.
It's tough. I thought he would have already been traded by now, because I thought as soon as they traded Westbrook, within a couple days, Harden would be moved. Yeah. So that's why I'm a little surprised it's taken this long. But potential spots, I mean, honestly, I only really see Philly and maybe Brooklyn, but Philly I see as the better destination. I think Brooklyn would have to give up too many pieces if they don't want to include Kyrie or KD, and obviously they're not going to include KD. So, and I don't think that they're going to break that duo up without giving them a little test run at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, Philly looks nice. I saw a deal on Instagram today. There was a rumor that they wanted Ben Simmons and 3 first-round picks. I was like, if that's truth, like, done right there. Like, make that deal. Like
for Houston.
Yeah.
No, not for
Philly
Houston.
Should make that deal.
For Philly.
3 first-round picks and Ben Simmons for 2 years to James Harden? Holy moly.
It's like maybe a extend and like a sign and trade, right?
Yeah.
No, you got to guarantee man. Right? Like none of this. Yeah, none of that. Like, if he has a chance to leave after 2 years, definitely maybe not the best option. But if you could get a sign and trade,
even if you can get 1 more year out of James Harden, 3 years of James Harden and Embiid. I mean, I don't want to. No disrespect to Ben Simmons, but what has he really shown so far?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of the same thing you said about Brooklyn. Like, it's kind of the first year where they truly are Embiid and Simmons with a bunch of shooters, right? They upgraded with Seth Curry, Danny Green. They still have Tobias Harris. They moved Josh Richardson. So it might be a situation like that as well. Like, if we have to give up that many pieces just to get James Harden, then why don't we just try it first and then see what happens, right? Maybe there's another, right?
Quite possibly, but then I think about what about that pick and roll with James Harden and Embiid?
Embiid dominated today too against the Celtics, first preseason game. He did really well. I was pretty impressed. Yeah.
I would love Chris, that duo, man. I think that duo would be unreal.
Yeah.
What's up, JT?
Chris, where do you think Harden will go?
I want him to leave as soon as possible. I don't want to see Harden play the season with the Rockets. I really love John Wall and Bogey together. Watching, like, I've seen the highlights from both those last 2 preseason games. And, oh my God, I'm so excited. I love watching this Houston team, and I never thought I'd say that in my life. Like, that watching John Wall and watching Boogie Cousins on that Rockets team is so fun. Like, I think like I used to hate, obviously most people do too, hate watching the Rockets play just because it's really boring and 3-point shooting, dribble, shoot three. But now it's just so exciting. So I'm really hoping they move him. Philly obviously would be the choice for, I guess, everybody in the league. Like, yeah, I have no care of where James Harden goes. I just want him out of Houston just so I can see Wall and Boogie do their thing.
Yeah, right. DB, what have you heard? Obviously, Rockets, you're with your guys there, John Wall, Boogie. Where do you think Harden might go?
Man, I think it's those are the only two landing spots from Philly and Brooklyn. I feel like everyone agrees on that pretty much at this point. And I think the more realistic option, again, just like Faraz, is Philly. And I would think that's a freaking menace in the Eastern Conference. Can you imagine Harden? And I can't even fathom Harden having a big man like that who could also just get out of his way once in a while and spread it out, hit a 3-2, right? That's I think that would be an amazing team there. But I don't see it happening. At the same time, I feel like he's going to just end up playing the season, at least half the season out with the Rockets. I don't think he's leaving right away. It's just so hard to move a superstar like that, like a superstar. Like you don't want to end up making that deal and regretting it instantly, right? Being like, holy shit, what did we do? We lost a once in a generation kind of talent as well, right? Like he's a scorer. He's one of those guys that could get you buckets.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like, obviously who in the league wouldn't want Harden, but you have to pretty much give away your entire current team. So like, do you really want to be the Rockets 2.0 or do you want to stick with what you have? Right. So it's a tough decision. It depends what's coming back. I think, like you said, DB, Brooklyn and Philly are pretty much the two favorites in terms of what can come back to Houston. I was messing around a little bit with like the trade machine. So something curious, I kind of made work as a potential 3-team deal would ultimately be with Denver, but Harden would go to Dallas. So Harden would go to Dallas with Luka, and it actually would be possible for them to keep Porzingis. So pretty much everything else would have to leave. Tim Hardaway, Dwight Powell, Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Richardson, all those guys unfortunately would have to leave with some picks. And then involving Denver gives the assets to come back to Houston. So they would have to give up Michael Porter Jr. And then they would be able to get some of those pieces back to kind of push them over the edge. So probably not going to happen, but I like to just fart around with those things. So a potential Harden in Dallas. What do you guys think about that? DB, why don't you start?
That's not fair, man. That's just like genuinely just not fair. Like I understand where some people would be like, well, both guys need the ball in their hands. Luka needs the ball, and so does Harden. But that's just not fair, man. Like with Porzingis there too, the unicorn. Like that's too much scoring power. That's just like too much. And Luka's already becoming like one of the best in the league. So it's not like like Dallas already looks really good. I know that you're saying they're going to lose all those little pieces, but like Dallas alone, Luka alone is looking very good. Very, very
right. Good. Yeah, the one wild card, like you said, is Porzingis, right? So if he's 100%, then that's a solid team. But that would be just kind of like a backup piece, just in case like a Porzingis kind of guy goes down. But you would essentially have Luka have the ball 50% of the time and Harden have the ball 50% of the time, and just each of you get one half of the court.
Pick your poison. Who you're gonna guard?
Exactly. Double team both of them, and then just put somebody under the rim, I guess. Chris, let's jump ahead to our preseason overreaction. So like I said, the games have only been on for a few days here. I don't know how much you particularly have watched. I see you're up at the cabin, but take us through some of your preseason overreactions, some things you've seen that's getting you super excited, but ultimately will probably end up being a bust anyways.
I have two, actually.
Okay.
My first one is Steve Nash, Coach of the Year. My second one is Tyler Hero makes the All-Star team.
Wow.
Two quite huge overreactions, but looking back at past winners of the Coach of the Year, I look at Steve Kerr, how he had a couple years under his belt before he won it with that 73-9 team. But I think if this Brooklyn team comes out of the Atlantic Division with a very good record, because especially with you guys, with the teams playing each other so many times, if they come out of possibly the strongest division in the league, I think if they come out with that good record, they can be he could be coach of the year. I mean, it'll obviously be controversial just because this team is so strong and you're walking into a team with KD and Kyrie. I feel like all of us could walk into that team and coach that team to the playoffs at least. I mean, it's sort of difficult to like judge that way, but it would be quite cool to see. But yeah, that's one of my overreactions is Steve Nash coach of the year for the Brooklyn Nets. But the one I'm really pumped on is Tyler Hero making that leap to an all-star team this year. Wow. I think the East, I don't think Kemba will be an all-star this year. I don't think Lowry will be an all-star this year. I don't think Siakam will be an all-star this year. And watching the Heat's last preseason game, Tyler Hero was the man on that team. Obviously, no Jimmy playing and whatnot, but I think this year teams are going to focus heavy on Jimmy and Bam, and that'll give Tyler the like chance to shine and do his own thing. Watching that game especially, it really looked like Tyler Hero was the man on that court. He was very ball dominant. He was very like controlling of the offense. So it seemed like it was his team and everybody was playing based around him, which was quite cool to see.
Interesting, yeah. And
like he had 17.6 assists, 17, 6, and 5 in his first preseason game, but which was quite impressive coming off of a fresh finals loss, really, right? And I guess my last case for Tyler Hero being an all-star this year is he has a fucking song named after him, which actually slaps. So good for him, man. This guy made moves after his last rookie season. So Tyler Hero making an all-star team. Put money on that.
All right. Who wants to dive into those first?
Man, all-star.
Well, yo, Faraz, I was watching this little clip and Jimmy Butler, I'm pretty sure, Jimmy Butler was talking to JJ Redick and he was saying to JJ Redick, he's like, Tyler Hero actually reminds me a lot of you as well. They say, how so? He's like, you guys are kind of like those white guys that are black at the same time. You know what I mean? So I thought that was hilarious, man. So I don't know, man. He's got the reputation. He's playing really well, but all-star is like I think it's a little bit of a leap, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. What do you think, Brad?
Like if you think about it, in the Eastern Conference, which other guards can you name? Six more guards that should make it over him? Probably, eh?
Are you serious?
Yeah,
dude,
probably.
Westbrook just came over.
Yes, but obviously, these are people with names, but like in terms of production.
Those are the guys that make all-star teams, right? The guys with names.
Tyler Hero has a song named after him, so he has a name out there, man.
I hope, man. I don't think so, but that'd be cool.
I feel like a lot of guys came east. Like I said, Westbrook, is out here, and Beal was an all-star last year as well. You really only have to look at guards, right? Obviously, Durant came over to the east as well. But Jimmy will be up there. Ben Simmons will be up there. Obviously, the depending on if Jason Tatum's a guard or a forward, he's probably a forward. Hey,
forward.
Yeah.
Anyways, he could be in the running for it. You never know, but there could also be like a Devontae Graham or something like that as well. Interesting. Coach of the year. Who wants to talk about that? Steve Nash, coach of the year.
I can see that. I was actually thinking about that earlier. If Brooklyn has a good season, like why wouldn't they? I think the NBA would love to give it to Steve Nash.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into why, but I think
they love giving him awards, man.
No, that's two-time MVP Steve Nash.
I know. I don't want to say anything, man. I feel like Shaq would have more to say on that. Those that matter.
Oh man.
But I can see it happening, man. I think that's a good early candidate, like early possible candidate.
Yeah. The only thing there, Chris, you said any one of us could go coach that team, but dude, the season hasn't even started yet. We've played a couple preseason games, and Kyrie's already been talking some smack about Steve Nash not being the real coach, this and that. So, like, I don't know, man. If you got to go in and deal with Kyrie's fucking dramatic ass and trying to keep KD happy,
man, Kyrie's a clown. Don't even listen.
You want DeAndre Jordan to start for some reason instead of Jared Allen, like
you
got to deal with all that stuff, man.
That's respect. That's respect, man. That's respect right there. DeAndre Jordan got to start, man. He's friends with KD, bro. Okay, if you're friends with KD, you start.
KD's the exact same size, just better at everything. Oh man. So DB, why don't you get into some of your overreactions from the preseason here?
Yeah, let's do it. So like that's a great segue into one of mine actually, which is Kyrie Irving and the media just in general. How is that going to affect Kevin Durant? Like that's what I'm really thinking, right? Like how is Kevin Durant like KD loves Kyrie. He's saying he loves them. He wants to play with them. That makes sense. But after a while, dealing with that, having to deal with all that media coming at you about Kyrie's bullshit, right? He's gonna have to take on all that media, all the questions, because Kyrie's not willing to answer questions or talks his way around questions or makes little remarks like they're all pawns or whatever it may be, right? He's always agitating. He's always kind of and I see you wearing his jersey too, so I think you know a little bit about Kyrie. Right. So I mean that's one of my like big overreactions though, that like everyone on the media is just talking about Kyrie and his interactions with the media, where I think they should actually be focusing more on where's KD at. If KD's cool with it, then it's all good. Yeah. Right. But it's all about KD. It has nothing to do with Kyrie, in my opinion. If KD's okay, that team's okay. Right. What do you guys think about that?
I think, like you said, they are super close. I actually just listened to KD's podcast. I was recommending it to you guys, and Kyrie was his first guest. So it was like, about 2 hours of those two guys talking back and forth. And I think they're the same kind of guy where they're not like the typical NBA player. I think like they look for different things in life, and they both seem to like really value relationships. So I think they can understand when somebody's real and when somebody's like a pawn, quote unquote, like Kyrie said. So I don't know. I think ultimately it doesn't affect KD just because he's a superstar. He's played. I was going to say work. He's played with all these Steph, fucking Clay, with Westbrook, all these guys, and he's used to it. But also, I feel like no matter what, he'll be on Kyrie's side. I don't know. I think he'll just be with it. And also the fact all this media stuff is done like we're doing via Zoom, right? So it's a little less awkward. It's not like those guys are in the locker room. Hey, Kyrie's right there. Why won't he talk to us kind of thing? Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you other guys think about Kyrie?
I think basically, what's it called? KD is one of those guys who just wants to hoop. Like he doesn't care about the media BS. He doesn't care about the narrative people are saying. Yes, Kyrie's a clown for all those pawn comments and all that stuff and not talking to the media. Like it's part of your contract. You have to, and you doing that. Like don't change the narrative. But I think KD will be fine with it just because he just wants to hoop. Like he could care less what the media says about him, his team, and whatnot. I think he just wants to hoop, and that's why I think he'll be fine. He's the perfect, what's it called? Batman to Kyrie's Robin. Whereas he doesn't care with Robin. Robin can do whatever he wants. He doesn't care what Robin does, and he'll just perform, and KD will do his thing on the court, regardless of what's happening off the court.
Was that a shot at LeBron or what?
Maybe.
That was a clear shot, like a clear shot of LeBron for sure.
Oh man, Faraz, what do you got as one of your overreactions from the preseason?
I don't know, man. I was thinking about this, and I think the Raptors. I think the Raptors are going to fall out of the top 4 this season.
Wow.
Yeah. I think the Raptors are coming 5th or 6th, and the true nature of that team is going to show now. I thought Chris was on the right track. I don't think Kyle Lowry or Pascal will make the All-Star team. I think a lot of their weaknesses are going to be shown, and no matter how strong they may play early on, I think this is the season. Yeah.
Wow. I would have to agree with you today, 1 week before the season starts, that Lowry and Siakam will not be an All-Star, but that guy's proven us wrong throughout his whole career, right? But I would have to say that I could see Freddie being an All-Star this year. The little bit of preseason ball that I've seen him play, he's playing like with that kind of demeanor, like he is like that superstar. That's just how he's playing. I know it's preseason and there's a lot of rookies and stuff, but one of my overreactions was the Raptors rookie Malachi Flynn. I think he's going to be a really nice piece for them, which could elevate them. So ours kind of contradict each other, which is a little bit funny. Mine's more just about the player versus the team. I do ultimately think Toronto drops as Philly and Brooklyn rise, just naturally. But I don't know, Chris, DB, what do you guys think about the Toronto?
I don't think they're going to go ahead, DB.
Sorry, I was going to say I actually like that Van Vliet maybe an all-star as well. I think he could. I think he definitely could be an all-star this year. I mean, like we said, if Tyler Hero kind of has a chance, then I think Van Vliet has a chance as well, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think the Raptors will do any damage this year. I think this is especially today when they lost out on the Giannis sweepstakes. Really, like this guy is just going to be in Milwaukee for 5 more years. I think that'll take more of a mental toll on the organization as a whole, on the fan base as a whole, than people think it will. I think it will affect them where they know they're not getting this superstar, once in a lifetime generational type player in Giannis. So now they have to go back to the drawing board and figure out where they're going to be from there. So I think that's going to take a mental toll on the organization. And yes, Freddie has a very high chance of being an all-star, but that's really all. It's going to be like one of those teams like Indiana, where you get Sabonis as your only all-star type of thing. That's what it's going to be for Toronto. It's just going to be like, oh, Freddie's there. Lowry obviously is going to be more of a mentor role, I think, this year to Freddie, whereas like he's going to take the back seat. Freddie's going to have the the keys to the team, really. But yeah, I do agree that I don't think Malachi Flynn is going to be as good as people think it is. Cool, he had a couple steals against LaMelo, whatever, but I think that's getting way too overhyped, and like especially from two preseason games. But yeah, Raptors are going to do good this year. I do agree with that.
Well, judging by his 4-minute YouTube clip, man, he's pretty fucking good scorer too. Okay, I watched that today. So Malachi Flynn, man, rookie of the year.
Peyton Pritchett, rookie of the year. Don't forget that.
Peyton Pritchett for, I'm guessing,
Boston Celtics. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He balled out today.
Yeah.
University of Oregon, baby. Let's go.
Ooh, nice.
Yo, LaMelo Ball is going to average under 10 points a game. Mark my words.
Under.
I can see that.
He's coming off the bench right now.
I can see him averaging under 10. Yeah. But I think he's still going to be okay. I think he's still going to get you like 4 or 5 assists while he's on the court too, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be special coming out the gates. But I think he'll be all right. Under 10, I could see that.
Yeah.
Like a 10, 7, and 5 kind of thing. Like 10, 7, and 5 stat line.
Like 8, 4, and like 2 with like 4 turnovers.
2 rebounds? Yeah, so Faraz, like you were saying with LaMelo, you think he's going to be averaging under 10 points there? I don't know. I was curious. So I watched a full Charlotte Hornets basketball game. It was the first time I can ever say that where LeBron wasn't involved in the playoffs. So I watched the whole game, and he tries, man. Like, they got him coming off the bench, which I really like. Rozier and Devontae Graham both start. I really like that. So they're bringing him off the bench, and they're playing him with either or, Devontae or Terry Rozier. So I really like that because he's got the length. He's just not – he doesn't have the NBA body, man. He's just getting pushed around. It's hilarious. But
yeah,
honestly, good on the kid, man. He's obviously been in the spotlight since he was like 7, and I think he's trying really hard. Under 10, I do agree with that. I think he'll average – maybe to double down on that, I think he'll average more assists than points. So moving forward, who else has a overreaction that they wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I got another one.
Let's go.
I think it's somewhat of a preseason overreaction, but more of a bubble overreaction.
Okay.
It's Paul George has been hit by the Monstars and he's lost his talent. So he is no longer who we think he is, and he just scammed them out of hundreds of millions of dollars. But no, that's a huge overreaction on my part. I think a lot of people are leaning towards that, though, that he's not what we thought he was. But I feel like he'll have a bounce back kind of season this year. I think he still might be able to get a bounce back kind of season. But if we're going to look at the bubble and then his preseason, his last couple of games, he's been like, I don't know, he's averaging like 10 points per game. He hasn't proven anything in the preseason either. So we'll see how it goes.
He needs
That's
to get
interesting.
back to OKC Paul George days.
Indiana Paul George days.
Yeah, they need Indiana.
Uh,
They need pre-broken leg Paul George, because honestly, that's a devastating thing for him to come back to. But DB, what do you think got him last? Like, why do you think that decline happened when he went to the Clippers?
Well, I don't know if the decline really even happened when he went to the Clippers. He wasn't a bad player with the Clippers. It was just near the end that he just didn't perform, right? Like throughout the season, he wasn't horrible. It's not like he played horribly. Yeah, he wasn't. He didn't have his like all-star kind of performances where he's maybe an MVP kind of caliber type player, but he was still pretty good. He was still playing defense at a high caliber, right? He was doing all that good stuff. I think it's kind of been publicized, and I think actually you told me about this, that you listened to him on what podcast was it, JT?
All the smoke.
Yeah, you were talking about how he was saying that it really affected him being in that bubble, right? Like mental health is huge, right? And I know, like personally, like my own mental health is huge as well. And if you're not feeling right, man, it's really hard to go out there and perform.
And it's little things that I took from that interview that were quite interesting to me. Like, NBA player, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You assume everything is great. You can have whatever you want, whenever you want. But, something as simple as he said or the Clippers were staying in the only hotel that didn't have, like every room didn't have a balcony. He's like, so if it was late night and I wanted to grab some fresh air, I had to go downstairs through concierge. I had to see the Lakers. I had to see the Bucks. I had to see all these other guys talking, not necessarily talking shit, but like, you know what I mean? And he's like, if I just wanted to go for grab some fresh air, it was this whole ordeal, right? So he was saying how he felt like he always had to be on, and like there was no kind of like, not to get too frou-frou with it, but like no safe place, right? It was like the hotel room, the arena, the hotel room, the arena, and I think we could go on for hours about that whole experience, but like you said, to be heading into before the shutdown, Clippers were actually like finally on a roll, right? They had that really good game against Lakers, and then I think they played Bucks right after, and they had that really good game, and then COVID hit. So I agree with you, where I think he'll have a big bounce back year, and Clippers will, like you said, kind of climb back to the top of people's radar, maybe like mid-season or something like that. But anybody else on Paul George?
I think he will have a maybe somewhat of a redemption season, like Dinyar's saying. He really needs to, man. I think this is especially after signing that extension, you have to prove yourself in this league. You got to prove yourself to your teammates. You got to prove yourself to Kawhi. You got to prove yourself to your new coach. Like, you come in and you got to make an impression, man. If you're getting that kind of money, you need to show why you're getting that kind of money. And I think he will make up for it a little bit this year. He just seems off, man. He needs to find his rhythm again. I think Dinyar's right. Like, maybe just it could be something mentally that there's something blocking him there. Yeah. But as soon as that opens up, man, I hope he gets back to that year in OKC where he was almost had an MVP like season.
Exactly.
Sure.
We need the playoff P back, and no more pandemic P, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. Does anybody got anything else for tonight's episode? Are you guys all feeling pretty good about your preseason reactions?
I think I can mention one thing.
Okay.
With Damian Lillard, I think he's a good bet for MVP this year. Just perusing through like Bet365 and whatnot, he's at 20-1 to win MVP. So I feel like that's a pretty solid, pretty high-paying bet for a superstar like Damian Lillard. You got obviously the Lukas, the LeBrons, the ADs, the Giannis's, all those people. But I think this year is going to be somebody out of the blue. And I think if you like how you said last episode ago, where you like, if Portland can get that number 2 seed and Dame leads them to that number 2 seed, that's Dame's MVP to lose. So I think he'll get that MVP if they get that 2 seed. So that's another, it's not really an overreaction, but that's something like a wild prediction that could potentially happen.
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all hope so. We all like that. We all like Dame, but yeah, exactly. It wouldn't be super surprising, but he is kind of like not one of those like, top 3 AD, whatever, KD will probably be a surprise voter, kind of creeping up the odds there as well. So just the last kind of thing, my experience watching the Lakers so far, they just look different. It's weird for me to, I don't know. I'm just going to have to get some more time spent. Obviously, Braun and AD have not been playing, but they just look different. They're smaller. I think they lost a lot of size with JaVale and Dwight, length, but also just like bulk. Like Schroeder's quite a small player. And then this Talen Horton-Tucker guy kind of came out of nowhere. He popped up in the bubble last year. Everybody's roster is expanded by 2 or 3 players this year because of COVID. So taking advantage like that, somebody like Talen Horton-Tucker is getting some solid preseason minutes. He put up a 30-piece the other night with Kawhi and Paul George playing, by the way. So their second unit looks nice. Like Marc Gasol's running their second unit, and it looks nice with like Schroeder as the point guard as the starter, and then Kuz, KCP, all those kind of pieces coming in. And then obviously you add LeBron and AD. It's just going to be fucking nice. So anybody watch the Lakers yet, or we'll probably talk tons of Lakers coming up this year.
Do you think Talen Horton-Tucker will be in the rotation come LeBron and AD coming back?
No, I think Talen Horton-Tucker will be like Caruso of 2 years ago. Like he'll be like the third string point guard, kind of, like it will be Schroeder, and then, well, realistically it's LeBron, and then it's Schroeder, and then, there's somebody else in there. Maybe they even do a signing or something like that. But I think he'll probably be one of those guys that maybe plays like 15, 20 games so the whole year, probably, like if that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's kind of all, like I said, 7 days, 1 week away from our first set of games next Tuesday, the 22nd. So that's going to be super exciting. But we do have one more show before that on Saturday. So we're going to be doing our preseason awards. So we're going to be discussing who we think is MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and Marcus Smart. Just give it to
DB knows. DB knows.
I'm surprised the jersey didn't make it up to the cabin.
No, man. Stays in its place until the season starts.
So we'll be going through that. But in the meantime, thanks for stopping in, boys. Thanks for stopping by to sesh with us. If you like what we're doing, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell your dog. Peace.